Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with the ultimate guide to fall reading. That means I have tons of romances to share with you. I think I have like over 20 books to share with you that I think are perfect for the fall season. I am deep in my fall reading, so I have a couple that I recently read that I think would be great. I also will overlap a little bit with my cozy reading recommendations, which I can link down below. I did that about a month ago where I'm just like super in the mood for cozy books. So I will be breaking this video up into contemporary romances, darker romances, romantic suspense, and paranormal / fantasy romances. So I feel like all of those really fit well into reading for the season, and there have been a lot more cozy contemporary romances coming out, so I want to read them all and I'm very excited. But first, I do want to share, I have recently gotten into coloring and like cozy coloring books, and the Ohuhu markers are my absolute favorite. Recommend those. But I did end up getting some really adorable, spooky, cozy coloring books, which I think are perfect for the season, and so I'm definitely going to be popping in a lot of audiobooks this fall and doing some coloring. I did do one page in my fall cozy reading vlog I recently did, and I colored it like this. I don't do any of like the fancy stuff that people have been doing on TikTok that I watch that I'm so in awe of. I just color normally, so I love these. So if you like coloring and you're interested, I will link both of those down below because I love them. Okay, so we're gonna get into the books. These are gonna be, there's gonna be a lot, and I'm currently wearing my cozy sweatshirt I got from TikTok, but it's like 80 degrees outside, so I'm a little warm. I am just projecting fall inside my house. But the first three I think are like the staple fall romances. So the first one you've probably seen everywhere, the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I really enjoyed this. I did give it 4 stars, and I think I definitely rated it 4 stars for the vibes, the cozy vibes. It's a small town. She has a pumpkin spice cafe. It's during fall. So many fall things happen. It's a romance. There's a little bit of mystery involved, but if you're a cozy mystery fan, this is not this is not a cozy mystery. The reveal was like a little lackluster and didn't really have a lot of focus on it. So there's a little bit of a mystery because someone's sabotaging her bakery cafe place, but it was not good like cozy mysteries are, which I will have some cozy mystery recommendations though. But this one, she's new in town. She inherited her aunt's cafe, and he works as like the produce guy. So he like delivers produce to her, and he just works around town. He's very grumpy because he had his heart broken in the past. So this one is super cute. I did really enjoy it. The next one, and I feel like this whole series can really be read in the fall, and that is Business Casual by BK Borson. I get confused whether this or Into the Weeds is the fall book because each book is a different season, and her first one, Love Light Farm, is winter, but I'm pretty sure this one's the fall one, and it is one of my favorite books of the year. This is so adorable. It's Nova and Charlie's story, and Charlie's just this very golden retriever character, but he works in the city, and he comes home a ton into their small town, and she's opening a tattoo shop in their small town. Beckett is her brother, who is from book 2, which is my other favorite book in the series, and it is just adorable. I really love this book. They end up with kind of like a friends with benefits situation, and they obviously are both falling for each other, and it is really cute. It is so good. Very small town. If you want those small town vibes, read this. I feel like fall is perfect for small town. I am doing my Gilmore Girls rewatch as well, and I'm loving it. And I have Take It or Leave It by Lainey Hatcher. It was a recent book I read. She actually just released a new book in this whole like fall romance collection with some romance authors, so definitely check her out, look her up. But I did read Take It or Leave It recently, and I really enjoyed it. It's small town. He works for an apple farm. It's his family's apple farm, and she's new in town. She's just like a freelancer though, so she's just visiting because she saw their town on a list of like best towns to visit, and she really loves it there, and they slowly fall for each other, and the town really just like embraces her and loves her. It's so small town. They have like their trivia nights, their Saturday baseball games, and it is adorable. Such small town vibes, and they obviously fall for each other, and I really love this one. So if you really, especially if you've read this one and loved it, read this one because it's so good. Okay, and then another one, and I didn't want to grab my copies, they're just buried in my bookshelf, but the Becker Brothers series by Candy Steiner I feel like is perfect for fall because it follows these brothers and their family that owns I think it's a distillery, and there's a mystery revolving around the death of their father, and so that kind of carries on throughout all of the books. And I read these a very long time ago when they came out, and this was kind of before Candy really blew up, and I love this series so much, so I'll pop the first one here. They follow all of the brothers. The covers are very fall. I feel like anything to do with like bourbon or whiskey also gives me fall vibes, so check this series out as well. It's a great choice. I think I'm going to go dark next because it's like still contemporary, but it's dark, and I only have a few. I used to love dark romances, but I feel like these are like literally just like definition of spooky season. The Corrupt series, Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. There are 4. I haven't gotten the last one yet. I do need to get that. But that also was my least favorite. But I was reading these as they were coming out and they are so good. And I love that they've made like, I feel like every few years they make a resurgence, but they are definitely dark and all of the romances deal with just like them pushing each other's buttons, scaring each other. And the first one really revolves around Devil's Night, which is basically Halloween, where they have this like event and they like do spooky things in like abandoned places and scare each other. So there's also this mystery around 3 of them went to prison and they blame the heroine, and things happen. So it's like very hard to explain. I've also haven't read these in like literal years, but they were recently republished in these editions that are now with Berkeley. So I love this series so much. If you want like a darker kind of, not super bully, but like kind of, and kind of a little bit spooky, read this series. I really like it. Okay, and then the last one I have that's really darker contemporary is A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. This is so perfect for this season. I read this one a long time ago as well, but this one, there's like, I just vividly remember a scene in a church, because when I read, I like see it in my head, and so when I think about certain books, I sometimes like see the scene in my head like it's a movie, and I remember this church scene, and it does end up being Polly, I think, and it's just really good. But like I said, I read this years ago, but like the vibes are so spooky. So there's 6 of them, and they were really close in the past, and I feel like something happened, and now it says 12 years later they're back. And like just spooky things happen, and you're like, what are these characters gonna do and what's gonna happen? And I'm probably explaining this so poorly, but if you want vibes for spooky season that's spicy as well, read A Lesson in Thorns. It's really good. I feel like a lot of Sierra Simone is really good for fall. But now I'm going to do let's do romantic suspense. I feel like that is also very close to this. I have 2 Nora Roberts and a couple of cozy mysteries. So I'm going to recommend my favorite Nora Roberts book, and that is The Search. This is so good, and it has to do with a serial killer, and I love her books that have to do with serial killers when that's a suspense. And so in this one, the heroine was abducted by a serial killer, but she survived, and she was the only survivor of his, and so he gets mad, takes revenge by murdering her fiance. And so now it's years later, and she has all these dogs. I think she only has 2, but she like trains a lot of dogs, and she just does it for her own protection. And the hero gets a puppy, and he is like, I need someone to help me train this dog. I'm like going crazy. He is new to their island, and he is like a furniture maker, but like with wood. Like he like takes trees and like makes furniture out of them, if that makes sense. And so she agrees, and they end up falling in love, but the serial killer is back, and they think he's getting closer to her. So I love this one so much, and it's so fall. I mean, even look at the back, like it's Nora in the fall, so with her dogs. I think this is perfect for spooky season. It's not like super scary, but this is one of my favorites by her. And then the other one I'm going to be recommending by Nora is The Obsession. This one, and I feel like a lot of hers that are kind of secluded feel very fall. So in this one, the heroine is running from a past because she turned in her father for being a murderer. So she had, like, it follows her everywhere. So she really has to change her name, and she decides to move to this like really secluded place and meets the hero, who the hero's one of my favorite in this. He's very like cocky and arrogant. I just was checking to make sure I had the plot right. So in this one, someone is in town murdering people the same way her father did. And so they like obviously are doing it because she's there, but like her father's in prison. So she's like, what the heck? So it is really good. Like I said, I love a serial killer kind of romance, and I love like the secluded kind of like living on your own far away because of like your past. So I feel like even if you've read one of these, for sure read the other one, because they're one of my favorites by Nora. So good. And obviously they both have romance as well. Then for some cozy mysteries. I'm very new to the genre. I just did a whole video for my Patreon of my collection of cozy mysteries because I've bought a ton. But the first one I'm going to recommend is the Vampire Knitting Club. So this one I did give 3 stars, but that's because I wanted a little bit more from the mystery, because I just read an amazing cozy mystery, and comparing them, it wasn't as good. But I definitely think I'll continue on in the series because it's just, the vibes are they're amazing. So it takes place in England. The heroine has to go to England to her grandmother's knitting shop because her grandmother's been missing. And so she goes to the knitting shop and her grandmother is dead. And little does she know, in the basement are a bunch of vampires who have a knitting club there, and they're trying to figure out who murdered her grandmother. And I love the whole aspect. It's just so cozy of like the vampires, the knitting club. The mystery wasn't my favorite, that's why I didn't rate it as high, but it definitely made me want to like move to England and open a cozy knitting shop and just like live out the rest of my life there. So if you want those like really cozy vibes, I think this is great, and I am hoping it gets a little better the more I read in it, but solid one. The next one I wouldn't necessarily say is perfect for fall, but I do know she has some fall ones in here, and I've only read the first book, so that's why I'm recommending it. But Meet Your Baker by Ellie Alexander is book one in like a 15 book series, and this one is Samantha's favorite, my friend Samantha from Books with Samantha, and I loved this. It is super cozy because she goes to her mother's bakery. So she used to work on a cruise line, she was engaged, got her heart broken, and now she's back in her small town, and it's very like Shakespearean. They do a lot of plays. It's very, very small town, and there's a dead body in the cafe bakery that she owns with her mother because she was a baker on this cruise line, so she's very good at baking. And so she is helping run the family business, and she has an ex that is the police officer in town, and I feel like they're gonna develop that through this, but the woman who was like the most hated woman in town ends up dead. So they're like, well, there's like a lineup of people that could have killed her. So she is really determined to figure out who did it, and it gets a little spooky in a little parts because like she gets knocked out at one point. But I had so much fun reading this. If you want a small town cozy mystery, Ellie Alexander is where to go. Okay, so those are my romantic suspense slash cozy mysteries, and then I am going to recommend some paranormal. So one that I also do own, and I don't know where I put it, is Her Soul to Take. This one I feel like is very popular, but if you haven't read it yet, it is so perfect for spooky season. The heroine, she like goes to places as, I forget what it's called, but she like investigates a paranormal activity, and the hero's a demon. So that's all I remember. I read this one quite a few years ago as well, and this one was really good. And then another one I want to recommend, I did not finish it yet, and I really need to go back and finish it. So it'll kind of be on my, also I'm doing a fall TBR video, but Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina. This one's like a 500-page book, and I did get halfway through. It was so spooky. The town is like, you can't get in easily, and once you're in you can't leave, and there's these guys that have to wear masks, and if they unmask themselves you literally die looking at them. And that's what I remember from reading this. I think I started it 2 years ago, and I really loved it, so I definitely want to go back, but I just got distracted by like arcs I had to read and other books on my TBR, so I never got around to finishing it. But it's for sure like a put down for now and pick up later because it was really cool and atmospheric for the time, so I think this would be perfect for fall. Okay, so then I also think like cutesy spooky is going to be, okay, I have these divided by fantasy and paranormal. Perfect fall book is Spookily Yours by Jennifer Chipman. I do have her new book, Wickedly Yours, on my TBR on my Kindle right now because I have an arc of it, but this one is just so cute. She had lost her cat, and she's very sad, and she's a witch, and she lives with her sister, and she keeps on seeing this black cat around, and then she sees it at the shelter, and she's like, it's a sign, I'm gonna adopt it. It ends up being a demon, and she doesn't know that, and he's like a very attractive like 6'5" demon, and he is cursed to be this cat, and so she is trying to help him break this curse, and he's really in town for a specific reason that he doesn't tell her, and they start falling for each other. And this one has like all the cute cozy vibes as well. It's adorable. I really loved it, and just look at that cover. Like, it is perfect for fall. Then I feel like, okay, I'm gonna save the like OG paranormal for later, but we do have two that I feel like everybody puts on their fall TBR, but like these are fall. If you want a guide to fall, you can't do that without Ashley Poston. Dead Romantics and 7 Year Slip. I definitely think Dead Romantics is more fall because it's very sad. It does deal with the heroine's dad dying, and so she goes home to the funeral. She hasn't been home in a while. She's actually a ghostwriter, and she can't finish this book, so she has a new editor that she's kind of like dodging, and she gets a call that her dad's dead, and so she goes back home for the funeral, but she's always been able to see ghosts, and so it's really sad. It's really sad. It revolves around the death of her dad, and like she has to confront things with her family, and then the editor shows up and she's kind of falling for him, and I loved this so much. Then we have 7 Year Slip, where the magic in this one is where her aunt or grandma, like her great aunt, someone she was really close with. Her apartment will slip 7 years back in time to whoever's staying there. She inherits her aunt's apartment. She passed away. This does deal with grief as well because her aunt passed away. She is like taken back into time, and this handsome man lives there, and he's the son of a friend of her aunt's, and they end up talking to each other, and he's this up and coming chef, and they fall in love, but he's living 7 years in the past. So I really like this. Kind of reminds me of like the Lake House movie with Sandra Bullock. I love that one. So these two though, absolutely perfect for fall. Then I think I talked about this one in my cozy book rec video as well, but Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan is so fun. It takes place in Scotland at this like spooky estate, and she claims that she can like read energy and like ghosts and stuff, and the hero is very practical. He's an archaeologist, and he is there trying to uncover this artifact, and she comes in and they actually meet at a pub and like really hit it off, and then he realizes who she is, and he's like, oh god, like you're just like a crook, like I cannot stand you, even though they obviously like were attracted to each other. And then they're trying to find these artifacts, and she is the real deal. Like she is able to find things, and it is so fun, so atmospheric. Highly recommend this one. And then another one I think it would be fun is The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. This is a fake dating werewolf romance, and so she needs a fake date, and he needs to be able to be taken seriously at work because he is a something. They figure out that he's an alpha, and he's unmated, and there's like a stigma against those, so he asks her to fake date him so that they will treat him okay at work once they figure out he's an alpha. And like literally he is like so obsessive and protective of her, and I really liked it. So if you want a good werewolf romance, this one's really great. Okay, so then I'm gonna go to the OG Paranormals if you haven't yet. The Becker Brotherhood series. There is no better time than to start this in fall. Like leaves falling, it's 50 degrees outside, and you are just getting immersed in this world of amazing vampires. This series does, I think, have 18 or 19 books now, and I've only read, I think, like 17, 16. I fell a little bit behind. I will say up until book like 12, the series like knocked my socks off. It was almost all 5 stars, and then it kind of went downhill from there. But if you want 12 amazing vampire romances, you have to read the series. If you guys were around when I was reading this in like, oh gosh, I think I was reading this like 2018, 2019, I was obsessed, and these characters are amazing. They have this like evil species that they're kind of trying to protect humanity from, and like this hierarchy of vampires, and it is just one of the most amazing paranormal series ever. So read this if you haven't yet. Then I have Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. I actually need to reread this to read the series. I never got it past book 1, and I've read it twice, but it's so good. She can see the Fae, and her sister ends up being murdered, so she goes to where her sister was murdered to try to help and figure out her murder, and she runs into this guy who's a little mysterious, and they've got to do things. There's this end scene of this book that is so vivid in my mind with so many paranormal creatures, and I just really want to continue this series, and I never do, but I do know, I think that people say the first like 5 are really great, and then it kind of like goes down from there, but like has like a really epic romance that only starts in this one that I think it gets better. So these are on my TBR like the rest of the series is for the fall, but this one is a great book to read in the fall. And then the next one I personally didn't love, but it is again another paranormal staple, so a lot of people love this, and that is A Hunger Like No Other by Crossley Cole. Again, there's a vivid scene in the beginning where I'm just like, oh yeah, it's that book, and people are like, yep. And so it's like fated mates. He's a vampire, and he like smells her above where he's being kidnapped, and he does everything to get her, and it goes from there, and that's really all I remember. So yeah, it says that he has had years of torture from the vampire horde, and he finds his mate. She is half Valkyrie, half a vampire. I would actually really love to reread this. They have really, really cute covers. They're releasing with these that remind me of the new Cinder covers. So I definitely want to go back to this series because it's definitely like a staple. So good. Then I have 2 on KU that I really love, and then 3 other fantasy. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Alpha's Burden by Luna Lark. This one is just a really fun new release. It's a rejected mates romance, and I don't read a ton of paranormal romance or rejected mates, so I did really enjoy this. It wasn't as angsty as I feel like it could have been because she is an outcast from their pack because her dad had challenged his dad, who was alpha, and ended up dying, and so she was outcast because her dad had challenged the alpha. And so she lives on the outskirts, nobody likes her, but then during a like moon run, she sees the hero and the alpha, and their mating bond snaps into place. And so they're like, oh, what the heck? And he is like, I deny you, like immediately. And so it's like soul crushing for her, but pretty soon after that he just comes around a lot. So it's not really super rejected mates, but they're werewolves, and there's a threat happening because people are disappearing, and that's not actually solved yet, that mystery. So I feel like it's going to come throughout the entire series, but I did really like this. And then I do have Four Psychos by Christy Cunning. I've only read the first two, but they're ghost romances, and it's why choose. And so I loved these. I have to go back and finish the series, but this girl, she is stuck in this house with these guys who are like demon hunters. She's a ghost, and she can't be seen by them, and then one day they can see her, and it's so funny when they see her, and then it's her romance with all of them. And then the second one, they really go out and kind of go on this like challenge thing to try to like get to a certain place, and it's hard to explain, but like it's a really fun romance. We've got demon hunters, we got a ghost, they're falling in love. It's very paranormal. And this one's kind of the bridge to my fantasy, but Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen is a Beauty and the Beast Why Choose retelling. And so the heroine, she is kind of on and off again dating this really horrible guy, kind of like Gaston, and her dad has been obsessed with trying to find his missing wife. And so he goes into the woods and he disappears, and she's like, we gotta help him, we gotta go get my dad. They do, and he has been kidnapped in this like castle by these four princes that are like the four seasons, and they are cursed to be wolves, and she exchanges her life for her dad. So like very Beauty and the Beast kind of plot, but it's her romance with all of them, plus another person is going to join in on this romance. So I really enjoy the atmosphere of this one, and obviously there's push and pull with the heroes. Some of the heroes are together, and I love a good why choose. So if you want Beauty and the Beast vibes, read this one. And another one, I never finished the series, but I did really love this first one, and that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Maheron. I know this is an old one, but if you haven't read it yet, it is really good. She is a witch, and witches are hunted though, and she ends up having to have a relationship with a witch hunter, and he is like so straight-laced and like dead set on catching witches, so kind of gets a little tricky there. This is one I definitely want to reread before continuing on the series, because I feel like it's just perfect for fall, and I never finished the series. And I read this back like close to around when it came out, so I feel like that's been a while. This came out in 2019, but I think that the series is finished. There's 3 books. Definitely recommend this. Okay, and then the last fantasy that I have to recommend is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. This one, oh, I don't know if it's actually still on KU. I think it is, but this one's very Viking-like, and the heroines, someone close to her dies and tells her, follow the Road of Bones and go find help. And so she does, and finds these like kind of Viking vigilantes along the way, and they like steal from the rich, and she kind of has a romance with one, but I don't know if that's who she's gonna end up with. I feel like this romance had me very intrigued, and someone's trying to kill her, so she has an assassin after her, and it's very fun. Like I said, very atmospheric, kind of like these vigilantes going around, and they're just traveling together, so I really liked it. Oh, the last one, I completely forgot this one. So Lady of Rooks Manor by Catherine Moon. I did have my special edition copy somewhere that I can't find, but I didn't take a long time to look because I just had to sit down and film. This one is a why choose with a bunch of paranormal creatures. It is so good. The heroine ends up getting this job at this kind of like pleasure house, and she falls for like all these different guys. You have an invisible man, you have a like gargoyle guy, you have a vampire, and she's falling for them. There's this evil guy coming after them. So that's really all I can say about it. It's very spicy, but so good. I loved it, and I think it's perfect for the season. And that is your ultimate guide to fall. These are a ton of romance recommendations in a ton of different genres. Let me know if you have any recommendations that I need to add to my list. If you've made it this far, leave me a skull emoji to match the skulls on Road of Bones. And yeah, that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.